Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
We are live, episode 259, Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a hot day here in Michigan, but I am excited to drink some of the amazing beers that I have right next to me, compliments of our guests today. But let's go around real quick. Let's see what everyone else is drinking, starting with Wendy. Wendy, what do you got to drink?
I am drinking a Two Roots Straight Drink IPA. It's got a nice color, good flavor. I'm enjoying it.
And we also have Rob. How you doing? What are you drinking?
All right, sir. Right now, I'm enjoying some Lagunitas hop water. So just kind of sipping on since I couldn't get one NA, I've got another.
And along with that, we have Daniel out in Arizona. What are you drinking?
Yeah, time to break the cycle. I do have the old Stoli and soda going on, and I am kind of excited to talk about these beers, these Two Roots that I got sitting here.
All right, we got some NA beers for me. I've got the New West Crack Open from Two Roots. I also have a Helles, and I'm going to be washing it all down with a Rochester Mills Milkshake Stout. We'll explain why that means anything based on, we have a lot to talk about because our guest this week is Two Roots Brewing, which they are kind of new to the Michigan scene. But let's kind of introduce our guest. One is a repeat guest. We've had him on here way too many times. He needs no introduction, so we'll go to the other person. Mark, how are you? What do you do at Two Roots?
I'm fantastic, man. I appreciate you. Thank you. So I've been with Rochester Mills / Two Roots now for 3.5 years, and I am currently the sales director for the Midwest.
Now let's bring in. I'll have either of you decide. The other person, of course, if you're not watching on video, shame on you. YouTube.com/Better on Draft. Subscribe. We have Eric Briggeman on, the first guest, and it's full circle again because he's now the latest guest that we've had. What is it that you're doing with Two Roots / Rochester Mills these days?
Rochester Mills is still plugging along with the brands that we've been producing for distribution since 2012. And we had our company was acquired by Two Roots Brewing Company back in August of 2019. And it's been obviously with 2020 being the lost year, as everyone knows. We spent a lot of time installing a bunch of new equipment last year, and kind of integrating the two brands into our facility in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and working towards getting production and distribution of the Two Roots non-alcoholic craft beers up and running for not only Michigan, but other areas in the Midwest, the Northeast, as well as currently supplying some inventory for distribution in California and Arizona. So it's been a really busy last 18 months. But we're excited with the path we've been going on and all the things we have coming up in the future.
Before we get into the making of non-alcoholic beer, and you guys can kind of break down a little more, I actually had the benefit of going to see the what's going on over in Auburn Hills, which is crazy, the amount of production and what you guys are doing with the production. Definitely go check out the Auburn Hills tap room if you've never been there. It was my first time a couple weeks ago, and this place is huge. Great place to visit. My question to you is let's talk about the business real quick. What is the ownership and the changes that have happened and occurred that come with the purchase or buyout of Two Roots? What is changing at Rochester Mills versus what isn't? What's changing at the brew pub versus the production facility? Why don't you just lay it all on the line, help us straight line all of that information?
All right. Well, the first and most important answer to your questions there is that the Rochester Mills Beer Company brew pub location in downtown Rochester was, first of all, they were always a separate company from the production brewery anyway, just due to state rules and laws between microbrewery licensing and brew pub licensing. But because of that, they were not affected or included in the acquisition that happened of the production brewery in Auburn Hills. So the brew pub is still owned by the Plez family, which founded it in the in 1998 and continues to be the highest producing brew pub in the state of Michigan for beer volume. So that continues to operate as is. We really don't have anything to do with their operation over there, other than the fact that we share a brand name. We only make two beers the same. We both make Milkshake Stout and Rochester Red. Other than that, the rest of the beers we produce at the production brewery are completely different than the rest of the beers they produce at the brew pub for pub only sales. So if you add the two together, there's 30 plus different Rochester Mills branded beers to try if you were to visit both locations. But they are separate businesses. So with that said, as the acquisition happened with Two Roots back in 2019, I wouldn't say business has been unusual, but it's been as usual as far as the Rochester Mills brands, with the primary focus being on integrating the Two Roots production and all the equipment that we needed to install to make that happen over the last year and a half. That doesn't mean there won't be changes in the future. I mean, no one really knows. No one has a crystal ball what's going to happen as far as branding or brand names or beers that are available or what our beer calendar will look like. But as of right now, we're still plugging away with our normal beer calendar, and obviously, like I said, incorporating the production of these Two Roots NA beers into our schedule.
Now I had a question that I was curious actually to answer for both of you. Now, obviously, with non-alcoholic beers that they have kind of taken off, there was a statement from the marketing and revenue officer of Lighthouse Strategies, which is the parent company of Two Roots. He had said that non-alcoholic beer continues its fast rise in popularity, and the consumer response to our entire product portfolio has been nothing short of exceptional. Now, with the segment, I saw that there was this stat that said, according to Nielsen, 66% of U.S. adults aged 21 to 34 are consciously reducing their alcohol intake. Thankfully, I am not in that demographic. But for me not being in that demographic, those of us that enjoy our 10 percenters, our hazies, our pale ales, give me the pitch to get me to move over to the light side, so to speak.
Well, I'm going to throw this one at Mark. Mark's going to be the pitch guy for you on this one. And besides, I think you pulled a bunch of those stats out of your ass, but
well, I will say what
it's online. It's online. I got to believe it if it's online.
Of course.
It means it's true.
You got to believe everything you see. Absolutely. I mean, you're not far off, Rob. There's no secret that millennials are switching, right? They're actively trying to consume less. The message that we're trying to get out there too, though, is that, we're not just about the guy or a girl that only wants non-alc beer. That's not necessarily the play all the time. I'll give you a case in point. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with Ale Mary's in Royal Oak, right?
Yep.
So sitting at Ale Mary's last night, having dinner with one of my buddies, and I'm sitting there, I was sipping a really nice bourbon, William McKenna 25 year. It was fantastic. So I sit there and I'm sipping on my bourbon, and I order a non-alc beer. And then after I have my non-alc beer, I ordered another bourbon. And the bartender, kind of gives me a funny eye or whatever, how come you're switching back and forth? So really it's no different than drinking a water, right? But I'm not losing the sociability aspect of it. I'm still sitting there, I'm active in the conversation, I'm having a beer, but at the end of the day, from a responsibility standpoint, I have a better opportunity to be safe to drive home after my time spent at the bar. If I mix in 2 non-alc beers with 2 beers, now I only had 2 beers worth of alcohol, but I had 4 beers worth of sociability. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, definitely. And I could see, and plus the bourbon choice right on there. Right. and I guess I would I kind of feel like personally for myself, I would say that if going to some place like Ale Mary's or, for those of us that are in the area as well as One-Eyed Betty's, if I were to go there for brunch and, I want to have that taste of beer, but I don't want to have beer, that might be something that would sit well during brunch, especially when I'm around family that's going to be judging me for having beer so damn early in the day. So there is that.
Shame on those people for judging you.
I agree.
Yeah, there's so many different angles you can take to it, but at the end of the day, really, it's about healthier decisions, not only healthy like from a health standpoint, but also a healthy decision in terms of life choices, right? There's multiple ways that you can spin this, that the non-alc beer scene fits into pretty much anything you're wanting to do. You know, you want to go mountain biking, hiking, kayaking, you know, you can still do those things, have that beer with you, but not have to worry about the side effects it's going to give you that might influence your performance.
Right. And I guess speaking of like just fitting into the beer category, you know, obviously Two Roots is a winner at the GABF. You guys won gold back in 2019 and then bronze in 2020. I guess tell us how, you know, in winning those medals, is it kind of a point where when you get those that you're happy and you want to keep consistently making the same stuff, or does it make you want to innovate more and possibly even just keep winning?
Yes. No, I mean, it's all of the above, right? You know, since we started brewing at our production facility almost 10 years ago now, we've always strived for consistency and quality. You know, there's no mistake in that. I think every brewery in the world could agree that that's what they're shooting for, right? We definitely have taken the opportunity to dial in our recipes and make sure that they're bright, clean, consistent, the highest quality that we can possibly produce. But at the same time, you know, if you look on our websites, look online, we do specialty releases as well. They're not on a huge scale. They're only for e-com right now. But if we do have those people that are out there looking for something different in the same category and made by our brewery, obviously we know what we're doing, right? If they want that, they can still find it. But right now, as far as like what's going on in the streets, you know, we're focusing on the big three right now, trying to build a name, build a brand, build awareness, and build a category.
All right. Now, one other question that I had is my cat is trying to break into my door right now. You know, the last time that we had talked Two Roots, one of the things that had come up was CBD, and you know, I was curious about how the Two Roots cannabis section is going in terms of drinks, and I'm pretty sure nothing has really changed here in Michigan to have those come here. But I guess where is Two Roots cannabis these days?
I'm going to pass that to my legal counsel, Eric.
Let me see if I can make up an answer for you. Right now, the only area I believe that you can get the Two Roots infused beverages is in Nevada, in Las Vegas. They do have some involvement with different dispensaries and other things there where you can get those infused beverages, and they still produce those. I don't want to say I don't even have all the information about this. I'll do my best to kind of give you a little bit of info. Is that I don't want to say it's on the back burner elsewhere in the country. It's there as an option, but right now that so much focus is being put on getting these straight up craft NA beers out to the masses in many states, and you know, in a couple of years, potentially nationwide. You know, that's been the focal point for the company for distribution and for what we're doing with the products. Doesn't mean that we've lost sight of that, or that's you know, disappearing from a potential product line in the future. Obviously, until anything were to change with federal you know, marijuana laws, nothing would be a widespread distributed product. It'd be a very state to state issue depending on specific state rules. The one thing that still is a sticking point in Michigan, since that's our home state, is that, you know, marijuana products, I guess I'll skip over the CBD because you can get CBD stuff everywhere, it seems like these days, including Family Video / CBD store. But THC products, you can only get at dispensaries. And in order to buy non-alcoholic beer in Michigan, you have to have a liquor license, and dispensaries can't get a liquor license. So there's this loophole that will never allow a THC infused beer to be sold in Michigan until some of those rules change.
Well, I want to interrupt you real quick because that's something that we talked about when we had Athletic Brewing on, because Athletic Brewing was doing some distribution here in Michigan prior to them having to pull back because of the law that NA beer in Michigan is considered beer. Um, you were the guild president of the Michigan Brewers Guild. Is that something that we need to see changed here in the state of Michigan? Like, what is the reasoning behind the why for that law in the state, and why has it not changed at all?
It's probably because no one pressed it. Is it something that could be changed? Possibly. I will say that not to take sides in an argument of the producers versus the distribution tier of the 3-tier system. But right now, the fact that NA beer is considered beer really, I guess, reserves the right of distribution to those products to the wholesalers. They can't be, I mean, they can be self-distributed, in the self-distribution rules of Michigan distribution. But once you get over a certain volume, you can't do that anymore. But it requires that liquor license to buy that product. And it's all there's a real fine language in the liquor code. I looked it up to find out, what it is. And it's weird because spirits, alcoholic spirits and wine both have a clause in the definition of what wine is and what distilled spirits or alcoholic liquor, whatever they call it. It says greater than 0.5% alcohol. And on the beer definition excludes that phrase out of the 3 different types of alcohol. So for some reason, it's not in there. My guess is it wasn't accidental. The liquor control code doesn't have many accidental things in there. But because that's not written into the definition of what beer is, it's something that's produced by fermentation, and that's all it says. I mean, with some other language in there. But our non-alcoholic beer is fully fermented alcoholic beer that then has the alcohol removed. And so it then classifies as beer. So until that language were to change, that rule wouldn't change. So we would have to, try and find some sort of co-sponsors in the legislation and see if that would fly to a certain degree up against the beer and wine wholesalers. Hopefully that answers your question.
No, I appreciate that because we have been seeing a lot of updated liquor laws for liquor, wine, beer within the state of Michigan for the past couple years, some temporary, some permanent. I know like Pauline Wenzel has been doing a lot over on the west side of the state trying to get more and more updated laws to help promote the industry itself. We just had the law regarding spirits, wine, and beer all in the same place and being able to sell it all in the same place where you make it, hoping that fixes the issue of me when I was up this past weekend in Traverse City at Mammoth Distilling, and there's a workshop literally right next door. They're just divided by a little hallway, and you want to drink a beer at the distillery or probably want to drink, one of those amazing whiskeys that I had over at the distillery, over at workshop. So I'm hoping things like this can just kind of get fixed as we continue. I know Wendy has a question. I kind of cut her off because I know she was going to ask one, but Wendy, go on.
Well, I want to know a little bit more about the removing of the alcohol process because I think a lot of people are like, what?
Well, first of all, I'm going to apologize to Mark because I told him I was going to let him do all the talking on this show. I was just here for some minor technical support, and I feel like I've been talking the whole time.
That's we're casual, right? It don't matter.
That's right.
He was busy earlier just dropping names like Glenn McKenna 25, just like it's like, all right.
I'm waiting for him to pick up one of those guitars in the back and start playing us a song. But
I haven't written the Two Roots jingle yet. I will perform it live on this show as its first release. How about that?
Oh, yes.
That sounds like you're asking for a callback. So Wendy, to answer your question, there are multiple ways to make non-alcoholic beer. I am definitely not an expert in any single one of them, let alone all of them. But the method that we use here for Two Roots is it's a steam distillation process, or a vacuum distillation process, I should say. And so it takes fully fermented beer, distills the alcohol out of the beer under a vacuum, which means that it doesn't have to be heated as high as it would be for normal distillation. So that's one of the benefits is you're not exposing the beer to extreme heat like you would be for normal distilling. And then the state-of-the-art machine that we have that's from a company called API in Germany. It's the same company that makes the plant that does the Heineken 0.0, a bunch of other big breweries that use this same machine basically all over the world. It also has the capability to kind of recapture some aromatics that are lost in that process and reintroduce them back into the finished beer, to kind of, I guess, aid in the flavor stability or to get the flavor back to tasting like real beer, which that's kind of been the complaint, I think, of NA beer all along, is that it doesn't taste like beer. It tastes like something that you don't want to drink. And so that technology has allowed us to put out what we feel is, some of the best tasting NA beer out there. Obviously everyone's taste buds are different, but we take great pride in that product. And we also, do some other things to add more flavor to those beers after dealcoholization process, so that you are getting some fresh, freshly hopped and freshly brewed craft beer. Just doesn't have the alcohol in it.
So I was online looking at the different flavors and stuff that you guys have with the different beers. And so I'm drinking the straight drink. And Ken, you have the New West.
I just cashed the Hellas,
think-
which is amazing.
That's
Definitely,
what I'm gonna open next.
yeah, definitely a drink that I will love to have. If we can get this keto, folks, I would be even more happier. But I just crushed it, and I didn't feel anything. And I'm like, oh man, it's not alcoholic, so I'm not even gonna get drunk off this. So now I have the flavor and not feeling drunk.
Ken's caught up on this keto thing. Are you on a diet, Ken?
I mean, if you look at some of the older photos of me from Better on Draft from a few years ago, I was about 360, 370. And I lost about 75 pounds pretty fast. I've kept it off. I haven't gained it back. But it's definitely been a plateau for a couple of years. But I mean, I look at it this way: I'd rather plateau than go back up. So I'm, look at the positives over that. I mean, Eric met me when I was about 370, and he just saw me this past weekend. I'm still a big guy, but I'm not as big. But yeah,
Well,
You carry it well.
I carry it all in the gut. It's all in my 20s, drinking pitchers of Coors Light and Boombas of Guinness, and the discount days of going to Rochester Mills, the brew pub, and drinking milkshake stout and Rochester Red. Like I was definitely a horribly a binge drinker for sure back then. But I think as I found flavorful drinks, it stopped me from wanting to overindulge because I want to sip and enjoy. But Wendy, you might want to ask your question again, because I'm drinking the Hellas. I'm now into the IPA New West.
All right. So I saw the Mango Dango on there, and I'm really disappointed that we didn't get any of that, because I would be all about it. But Mark, I'm just wondering, what types of things do you guys have coming up?
So like I said earlier, we're right now is in terms of what's going to be available to the public distribution wise, we're still going to focus on the top three, the ones that we're drinking today, right? The Hellas, the Straight Drink, and the New West. There's going to be a constant rotation of what we're going to have available via ecom. I know we're working on a 00. We got a Silly Goose IPA that just hit. And then we got a couple other top secret ones that I can't necessarily release for you right now. But we're always going to...
Silly Goose is a hazy, isn't it?
Yes. We're always going to have some new stuff that's going to be coming out available for ecom. And then, as we continue to scale, we'll talk about doing some things for distribution rights too. But we like the ecom. There's a huge market for that right now. And it's, honestly, when we post those things, they're gone within a matter of a couple days. So why mess with a good thing right now, right? We're trying to build a brand, build a name, and when you take something away from people, right, they want it even more. Mm-hmm. So as long as we keep that rotation going fresh, you'll just have to subscribe to our site and find out for yourself, Wendy.
I'm gonna have to watch for that Mango Dango to come. Dan, you had something you wanted to ask, I think?
Yeah, so I'm actually, and I hate IPAs, but Ken's like, you got to open one of these and try it. So I'm
I
gonna
got
try.
the new West, and I'm liking it. So
Okay, so I've got the new West too. Walk us through this. Tell us what kind of flavors we should expect in a beer like this, because I can tell you right now, I hate IPAs, kind of like Ken. I rarely
it's
try to drink one.
it's not
Oh,
bitter at all. It's not piney. It's very smooth and juicy. I hate the fact that I love this.
oh, don't tell me that. So yeah, give us a little walkthrough on this. What kind of tasting notes should we see when we take a sip of this?
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, Dan, that's my favorite one too, out of the three that we've got right now. I think it's a very well balanced IPA. So essentially, the reason that it's called New West, first of all, is that is a New England style IPA meets a West Coast style IPA. So what
Okay.
you're gonna get, right off the rip, you're gonna get super citrusy, floral, aromatic, juicy, all the things that you would typically expect out of a New England IPA. When you take that first sip too, you're gonna experience those same things right up front. But where that West Coast style comes in is you still get a clean, dry finish at the end that makes you want to drink it again. So it's really, again, my favorite, and just a perfect balance between the two, I think. And while we're talking about it, I think one of the things that separates our non-alc versus a lot of the other ones out there too is not only the flavor and the aromatics, but the mouthfeel, right? You still get almost that very full-bodied beer mouthfeel, and you don't typically get that. So I think that really stands out as well. And what do you think? I mean, you took a couple sips. What do you think?
I did. Again, still not an IPA fan, but it is pretty good. And I get exactly what you're talking about with the mouthfeel, because I've tried some of those other ones like the Partake, stuff like that. And it's really basically kind of like drinking flavored water compared to this. So I do give you a lot of credit. It is much more like beer than most of the other ones out there.
What are you
I
seeing
appreciate
as the trend here in Michigan, Mark? Are you seeing a lot of people continuously, like, what's the percentage of NA beer year to year, especially after this past year with COVID? A lot of people were taking drinks home. They weren't necessarily drinking at a bar, which not many people go to the NAs at a bar because you're at a bar. What are we seeing with production numbers? Like, how are we seeing it against the regular industry?
I mean, just from an overall trend, it's hard to say for Michigan specifically. I mean, on a national scale, we're looking at craft or non-alcoholic beer as a whole being up 38%. When you're talking about craft non-alcoholic beer, it's up around 300% year over year. So the trends are really fantastic from that standpoint. Now, obviously, you can always say, well, up 300% is pretty easy when you only sold 500 barrels or whatever the year before. So that number is a little different, but in terms of the overall trend, what we're starting to see is more adoption to that responsible lifestyle. More so right now is it's a chain-driven package. So we're going to start to see a lot more IRI data as more and more chains start to adopt what's going on in the industry. And we're starting to see that, right? Like, it's been kind of a slow trickle. And I will say, I thank the gods for the likes of Heineken with Double Zero and Bud Zero, and what Athletic is doing and Partake, and all these other guys that are coming out with all these new brands. We need them. We respect everything that they're doing, because as all of us continue to gain more placements into these chain locations and start to build more IRI data, that number is just going to become more and more accurate over time. And it's also going to support what we're trying to do with, the amount of expansion into new states that we're doing as well. As more IRI data comes in, again, now we can use that. We can all, as an industry, use that to our advantage to gain even more space on the shelves. So I know that only kind of answered your question. Sorry, I don't have more Michigan specific numbers, but the trends are there. We're seeing it not only here in the United States, not only just specifically Michigan, but from a global standpoint too. I mean, a lot of people will point to what's going on in Europe, and in some parts of Europe, the non-alc beer category is more than 10% of the overall beer industry, which is a fantastic number, right? I think that the number that I saw the other day was 1.01% is what it came out to be in the United States. Again, don't always believe everything you read on the internet, right? So I'm sorry if that number is not entirely accurate. But that was based on IRI data that I saw the other day. So to think that, what's going on in Europe could potentially come to the United States, there are a lot of experts saying that within the next 5 to 7 years, this side of the industry is going to become up to 5% of the overall beer category in the States, which equates to a little over $6 billion industry. So listen, we're all super excited for what's going on and for the growth of the category, and we're just riding the wave, man, having some fun with it.
That is huge. One thing that you brought up with the other brands that are out there, the Athletics. I think there's one from BrewDog. There's a couple from BrewDog. The Brooklyns. I was kind of curious for both of you. Is there a favorite non-Two Roots NA beer?
Absolutely. I'll go first. So I will name two, and I will give a tip of the hat first of all to Untitled Art. I'm a huge fan of their non-alc milk stout. I think that is fantastic. It's probably the best non-alc stout that I've had out there. And then honestly, on the other side of the coin, I'm a simple man. I love just regular old Busch NA.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, I don't, we're actually just in the process of trying to go out to the store and buy a bunch of the competitors' products so we can do an in-house, comparison and tasting, just so we can stay on top of what everyone else is doing in this segment, much like we would do with our regular alcoholic beer. Obviously it's easy to do when you go to a beer festival. You can try all kinds of things. There really isn't an NA beer festival out there, so we don't get that opportunity to try all these things in one spot. But the ones that I've tried before that I would say were good, and I would go back and drink again in a heartbeat, were, I'll agree with the Untitled Art chocolate milk stout or whatever it was called. And then the Heineken 0.0 is actually a very good beer to drink. So those are the two I would vote for.
And I've definitely been looking for, if I wanted to definitely get into non-alcoholic, I am a stout person. So I definitely, with you mentioning Untitled Arts, I got to find that now, because now I am very interested in trying that out. But to Eric's point, there isn't a festival, but maybe you can make one.
Never say never.
Never say never. So one of the things that I had was that obviously this year there's been a couple more states that have been added to distribution footprint, with Massachusetts back in February. You guys added Arizona back in May. I guess in total, according to your site store locator, that brings it up to 6. The others obviously being from what was on the site: California, us here in Michigan, Pennsylvania with like one store, which is awesome. It's like in Pittsburgh, which is where I would want it to be, and Indiana. Do you, obviously with the NA footprint that is throughout all of the companies that are here, that are, putting forth NA beers in the market, do you see yourself being across all 50 states, or is there a point where you think, 10, 20, 30 might be enough? I guess where do you want to go?
We want to take on the world, buddy. That's the American.
That's what I want to hear.
That's the American dream. No. In all seriousness, so we have a pretty aggressive growth plan. We want to be in what started off as 21 in 21. So we wanted to add 21 more states in 2021. We're on a pretty good clip to do that. Well, I can't tell all of the states that we're targeting right now. I can tell you that we are going to be about halfway there very soon. And by very soon, I mean within the next couple of weeks here. The ones that I can tell you that we've already had agreements signed and basically just waiting to send the trucks. We are expanding into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and a bunch of the New England states. We have Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island all signed on already. So those ones are going to happen very, very quickly. And we got a pretty short list going of another 10 that I think we could have locked up within the next couple of months.
Nice.
I will also add that we have been doing some exporting too. So we're also in the UK, Australia, and Korea with the Two Roots brands.
South Korea.
Not best Korea.
There's kind of a difference.
Eric, I want to bring you in on this because I'm curious what the future will be for Rochester Mills production, because you guys have now these different organizations that you're working with across different countries as well as different states. Are we going to see Rochester Mills get out into other states, or is your sole focus of the organization right now is kind of just pushing Two Roots?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of my personal opinion on that because we haven't really had I don't think a black and white discussion about that. We've had several, I guess, what if conversations, but from a personal standpoint, every state in the country has a ton of craft breweries now. Maybe that's been the trend for the last, 10 to 20 years as far as, openings have gone for the most part. And a lot of times, as even prior to the Two Roots coming into play in Auburn Hills, a couple times we'd go to other states and ask, and they're like, well, we're not really taking on out-of-state breweries anymore. Or right now we have enough state breweries in our own state that people are asking for products from. And so just opening up distribution, unless you have the next all-day IPA or the next Oberon, which you don't know it's going to be that until it's till later, but they don't want to take on anything that's not already a sure thing. So it's difficult to expand craft beer to different states at this point. And a lot of breweries from out of Michigan realize that same thing when they try to distribute in Michigan. They run into the same kind of that local interest in supporting local breweries in the market. And people want to buy stuff from Michigan when they're in Michigan. And so other breweries that might be super successful in their home state don't necessarily do as well as they would have hoped. And that'd be the same thing for Rochester Mills moving outside of the state. That doesn't mean that we don't have it there as an option. We don't want it to be a make or break deal for Two Roots. Two Roots right now, there is not a lot of non-alc competition. So and I don't want to say an easier sell, but there isn't a lot of breweries out there pushing non-alc for distribution, at least not to the capacity that we're capable of doing. So, while it's there as an option, there are certain states. We would probably stick closer to to Michigan if we were to do that. So, some of the neighboring Midwest states might be a natural pull at some point. So I wouldn't rule that out, but there isn't I don't have a yes or no answer for you on that, if that helps.
What do we expect to see with maybe different flavorings or different styles of non-alcoholic production from Two Roots? I do have behind me, the boxes are somewhere, but Athletic did a non-alcoholic hopped seltzer, which is kind of more along the lines of Hoplark's Hop Tea. Are you guys looking into other, not necessarily non-alcoholic beer, but non-alcoholic options for distribution within the org?
Go ahead, Eric.
To short answer, yes, we're looking at different options, and we're going to be hopefully dedicating some time and effort to some regular specialty releases on a regular basis, whether it's a new beer every month or not. I don't know how frequently we'll be able to come out with those. And like Mark had mentioned earlier, for now they're e-commerce available options only. Until we get to the point where we think that it makes sense to offer a fourth distribution item for widespread distribution, and some of that will depend on the response to from the e-commerce market. We'll see how well the beers go. Right now they're smaller quantities, so they're all selling relatively fast. So we'll see if we start to increase the volume on some of those and continue to keep it as e-commerce to start. And then if those continue to sell fast, then maybe we take something to a larger scale and offer it for distribution. That's all just speculation right now. So there's nothing set in stone about that, but there definitely is going to be a research and development aspect to creating these, up and coming or exciting new specialty releases.
And that being said too, Eric, I'll just add one other thing. Under our parent umbrella of Lighthouse Strategies, they have other avenues too. So there are teas and waters and topicals and other types of products that still fall not under the Two Roots name, but I just mean under the parent company umbrella.
I guess that's what I was kind of implying when I say Two Roots as an org making a different drink as opposed to the whole org itself. What are you seeing at the production facility though, Eric? Are people looking for non-alcoholic options there, low alcohol options when they come into the brewery these days, or is this something that we're not necessarily seeing yet in the mainstream?
It's about the same as what you would see in a traditional off-premise bar, or sorry, on-premise bar. Is that most people are going to a bar looking for non-alcoholic products, but there's always going to be a person or several people that are. The one thing that our taproom manager's been focusing on is, make your last drink a non-alcoholic drink. Instead of ending your day all the way up until you're hopping in the car with another beer, hang out and socialize and have an NA as your last drink. And so he's been kind of to use that as a I don't want to say a selling technique, but I guess that's what it is. And then we do have some followers that have been showing up to buy cases to go. So it's definitely selling. It's not, obviously it doesn't sell as well or as in the volumes that the alcoholic beer does, that people are coming to a bar to consume most of the time, but it's been growing. I mean, obviously it was, little to nothing to start with. And now it's, there's several cases every week that we have to move into our taproom inventory. So we definitely see some growth, and some of that's just, word of mouth and knowing you can get it there and educating the people that it's available for sale.
Can I put a shameless salesman plug in here for a minute too?
Go for it.
I love that Eric brought this up, and I should have mentioned it earlier too when we were talking about why NA, right? We love the tagline, make last call your best call. And for any of the on-premise retailers that listen to this show, I just want to throw something out there, because it's very important for two reasons. Number one is, again, you want to be responsible on your drive home. If you're going to have that last beverage, it's better to have a non-alcoholic product, right? Give yourself a little bit of time to metabolize, get home safely. At the end of the day, we want everybody to be safe. But from a bar owner's standpoint, that's probably the best scenario for you, because what you can do two options, right? Number one is you can give that person at last call a glass of water, but we all know what the problem with that is. They're not spending any money on a glass of water, right? But if you can get that additional $5 ring, still get them sobered up, they still have, again, like we talked about that sociability aspect earlier too, they still have all of those elements in there. But not only is the bar making more money because they're adding that extra $5 ring on there, but the server is going to make more money too, or the bartender is going to make more money too on their tips. So listen, we want everybody to be safe. We love everybody out there, and we love our bar owners and bartenders too. We want you guys to make more money. So that's my shameless plug. I'm done.
No, I love that quote. Make last call your best. One more time. Let's
make last call your best call.
Make last call your best call. I'm gonna
Two Roots.
Is that the Two Roots slogan? I don't have it up in front of me.
Well,
is that the slogan now for Mark DeFrank?
That's the Mark DeFrank. Actually, I won't even take credit for that. That's the slogan of TJ. He's one of our sales guys out on the streets. That was all him. Our actual slogan right now, all of our marketing materials is based around the non-alc champs. We continue to win these awards. One of you mentioned it earlier. We won the gold medal in 2019 with our Enough Said Hellas. But then in 2020, we turned right back around and we won another medal. We won that second medal with the Straight Drank IPA, the green can. What's more impressive to me is that winning that bronze, there was no non-alcoholic beer category that year. So we entered it into the session beer category. So anything that's 5% or less. Gold medal, silver medal were both alcoholic beers. We still clocked the medal with non-alc, which again, talking the quality, the mouthfeel, the flavor, the aroma, everything is there, right? On top of that, so that's kind of what started the whole non-alc champs deal, right? And then turns out a couple of weeks ago, we go to the Australian International Beer Festival, and all three of our beers took home medals. So we're just continuing to play on this, right? If there's anything that we're going to win by, it's the fact that we got the best liquid out there. And listen, That's not me saying that. I love a bunch of other ones. Like I said, Bush NA, Untitled Art, the Lagunitas IPNA. Like a lot of the guys are doing a really nice job. But right now, we're going to rest our laurels on that. We're going to keep making the best beer out there and hopefully keep taking home medals. I want to see us, the picture, you guys remember like the Michael Phelps picture, he's got, 8 gold medals around his neck. That's what I want to see.
Just don't wear a Speedo.
Oh, nobody wants to see me in it.
Sorry, I always got to ruin it.
Well, as we're ending this amazing conversation, I definitely have a lot more. I wouldn't say respect, because I've always had respect for appreciation. I have a lot more appreciation for NA beer after talking to you guys, especially after drinking. God damn, that Hellas was good. Honest to God, that was easily one of my favorite drinks that I've had recently. I'm scared. I'm probably gonna drink this IPA during segment 2, but I'm gonna wash it down with this amazing milkshake stout because I have it out. It's already chilled. I want to make sure I drink it. We're gonna finish it. Everyone's gonna kind of ask one more final question before we end the night. So don't forget, if you guys are listening to us via podcast, guys, we're live 7 p.m. Fridays, betterondraft.tv or facebook.com/betterondraft. Join us. Or if you're listening via podcast, you can go check out the video and see what we all look like and see if the voices match the faces. We're going to start with Rob on this. Rob, what's your final question for these two?
Well, I guess first, I did swim in high school for 3 years, and I've worn a Speedo. Don't look it up. Don't find it. You don't want to see it. But to Mark, since he's got those guitars behind him, favorite song that's not yours that you like to play on your guitar?
Ooh, that's a great question. It changes all the time. To be honest with you, I'm a big Creedence Clearwater Revival fan. I like playing those tunes. I would say right now though, and I go all over the place. Everything from acoustic to literally Black Sabbath, heavy metal, Slipknot to hip hop, rap, classical, you name it. I'm across the board, right? I would say right now, God, what have I been playing the most? Probably Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine.
Nice.
Okay. That's a smooth riff. I haven't touched my guitar in like 5 years, and before you even ask, I still don't know how to play. So it just
I had a guitar. Definitely one of those many gifts my parents bought me that I never used, and shame on me. As far as those who may have kids probably understand when they buy their child a nice expensive gift that doesn't get used. I'm sure my mother loved that. For me, I learned how to do Smoke on the Water. That was like the only riff, and then I also did the Wanted Dead or Alive opening riff. And I was like, "Oh, I could do this. This is good. This is if I could." In my head, I'm like, if I could figure that out, I'd be good. And then like,
somebody gave you eruption.
I just couldn't do it. I don't know. I loved it when I was growing up. I played the cello, and I even played the cello before like I was school forced me to play the cello because my sister played it, and I always wanted to do things my sister did. And I loved playing it, but my problem was that I wanted to play more advanced stuff that my sister was playing in high school, and I'm sitting here playing fucking hot cross buns on a cello. Like, this is boring, and so I quit because I wasn't being pushed hard enough. Thank you very much, Troy School District. Wendy, what question do you have over there?
What flavor would you like to see happen from Two Roots?
I'll go first. And first, I'm going to add some chime-in comment to the guitar thing. Is that I can nail the Dokken In My Dreams guitar solo on my air guitar.
Nice.
That's as good as it's going to get.
How about that inflatable one you got?
Oh hell yes! Oh hell yes! It's really not an air guitar. It's an inflatable, like plastic guitar. So even better. Anyway. So for me, I think that this is going to play off of a little bit of one of my favorite beers we've made at Rochester Mills over the years. I'd like to see us do an Oktoberfest.
That's a very good call. And I would say my answer is probably the milkshake stout, just because that's been our flagship for so many years, right? And I do love Really love that Untitled Art non-alc milk stout. I'd like to see what we could do with one for sure. And then if I can get a second one, I'll say an alt beer for Ken.
Aw.
Suck up.
I mean, I would have been okay with Rochester Red as an NA beer too. But, yeah, I would love an alt beer. I mean, I got one in the refrigerator from Weldworks that I'm saving to disappoint myself by drinking and then not having any more left. Dan, what's your final question for the group?
All right, especially since we were talking about those other beers. When's it coming out? Old St. Mix NA. And can we get it in 40s?
God, I only wish I had more to send you when I sent you the care package.
You send them those mini paper bags too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will finish it with a very, simple, relaxing question. What I kind of want you guys to guess, because you guys are in the industry, you guys are in tune with the industry, because obviously you have to know between, the non-alcoholic and the alcoholic. For beer, wine, liquor, what is, according to the Michigan beer map, the Michigan Brewery Map app, if you go to mibeermap.com, which is a free app for you to download and find every single open brewery in the state of Michigan, including making sure you don't accidentally show up to like a production facility that is not open to the public. How many open breweries do we have currently in the state of Michigan? So
Eric probably knows the answer to that one. So
No, I don't.
I'm going to make a guess. Are you talking about licenses, or you said actually open?
Actually open, serving beer to customers.
373.
285.
I said open, not Brewers Guild only. 376
Wow, good.
Good
See, I
guess.
wasn't even close.
is the correct answer, including, not including because they haven't been open yet, but Dog and Pony Show, which I know is opening soon. Of course, our sponsor North Center Brewing's on that list, and you can find a lot of these beers, including Rochester Mills beer over at Zatuna Liquor in Rochester Hills. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to chat with us. Eric, I'm sure you're just going to go hop over to the production facility and get yourself a beer on draft, because we know it's... let's try that one more time. You're going to get a beer on draft, because no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.
Hey.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Cheers.
you.